3 ways to crochet an edge. Let's take a long needle as an example and do the operation. Method E. Use locking needle as an aid. Make a mark on the last stitch of the previous row. Turn it over and start knitting the next row. Crochet 2 chain stitches. These 2 chain stitches as standing stitches help support the height of each row and are not counted as one stitch. Next, we knit the first stitch on the marked stitch. The first stitch of each row is done in this way. When knitting short and medium length needles using this method, you only need to add 1 lock stitch. To knit long stitches, you need to add 3 lock stitches. Finish the first stitch and then crochet the rest as normal. The texture of this method is uniform and compact overall. The edges have fluctuations. Method R. Use a lock stitch as the first stitch. Make a mark on the last stitch of the previous row. Turn it over and start knitting the next row. Hook 2 lock stitches. 2 lock stitches as the first stitch. Then, skip the marked stitches. In the next stitch, crochet the second stitch. The first stitch of each row is done in this way. When knitting short and medium length needles using this method, only 1 chain stitch is needed. To knit long stitches, you need to hook 3 chain stitches. Then you can crochet as normal. The edge of this method is relatively smooth. There is a large gap between the first and second needles, which will form a hole. Method 3. No needle locking. Make a mark on the last stitch of the previous row. Turn it over and start knitting the next row. Knit a short stitch on the marked stitch. On the short needle, there are 2 loops. The hook passes through the middle of these 2 loops. Crochet 1 more short stitch. This completes the first stitch. The first stitch of each row is done in this way. When knitting short and medium length needles using this method, you only need to hook 1 short needle. To knit long needles, you need to hook 3 short needles. Finish the first stitch and then continue crochet normally. The edges of this method are relatively smooth and the texture is relatively uniform and compact. These methods are the same when weaving the first row. You can choose the appropriate method according to your needs.